What's good, y'all? You know who it is. It's your boy, Big Tank Hank, coming at you with a new live stream. Hey, I'm gonna have to do something about these glasses. I'm tired of adjusting them. They're always so crooked. Glad to see y'all here, and it's going down. Glad to see I got my regular cast of characters. Let me see. Julie McKee, thank you, ma'am, for coming in. What's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? I have none other than, hey, Renee, look out. Poeseewi is in the house. Yes, she's here tonight. She's going to bring that energy, her eclecticness. It's about to go down. Y'all have any questions? Save those questions up for her. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have her come up. She's going to break it down, give a little introduction of herself, and y'all can dive deep into Poeseewi to see exactly who she is. All right, y'all. Hey, I'm going to holler at y'all on the chat when we come back.
Hello, everybody.
Poeseewi, what's going on?
Hey, hanging out.
Amen. Amen. All right. Before I let you tell them about yourself, we're going to go and holler at everybody that's in the chat. Scouts Aquatics came in the door first. What's going on, sir? Mississippi Hippie, Glitch Aquatics, Casual Aquatics, what's going on? Let's see. Scroll. S,
Hoyas.
what's happening? Julie McKee, welcome in, ma'am. Jeffrey Watts, what's
Hey, Craig.
happening? What's happening?
Hey, Jeffrey. Hello, Crystal.
Craig Doniger, Renee, what's going on? Ricky De Hoyo, what's happening? What's happening? Travis Myers, what's going down? Crystals, Pets and Plants, hello, ma'am. All right. Ma'am, give them a brief introduction of yourself, a breakdown from little you to big you, and we're going to go on from there.
Okay. Well, I was born in Los Alamos, which is the home of the atomic bomb. My dad's a nuclear laser physicist. My mother is an actress, artist, writer, and a million other things. She ran a software company, educational company. She calls herself a Renaissance woman. She just has too much energy for her own good. But I love her. So my dad's first job when my parents came from the East Coast, was as a herpetologist. So I grew up with bull snakes. We didn't keep rattlesnakes for obvious reasons. And the neighbor raised tarantulas in his garage. We did like in the old days when people used to travel during, spring vacation and winter vacation. So I've been in 48 states and Mexico and Canada. I'm missing Alaska and Hawaii. I have a brother, and I have lots of foster brothers. My mom's also a anthropologist. So I spent a lot of time when I was being raised on the San Ildefonso Indian Reservation. And the woman who rediscovered how to do black pottery adopted me into the tribe. So she's like my great-great-grandmother. And I'm not a very good potter, but my, brother, I just call him my brother. He actually has pots in the Smithsonian. He's really good. But I have sort of being Jewish and being raised Native, I sort of have, I don't want to say strange spiritual beliefs. I mean, I believe in God. And if you don't believe in God, then, well, I just don't like people who don't walk the talk. If you're a good Christian, please be a good Christian and show me. Don't be a hypocrite. I think that's one thing about organized religion that has always bothered me the most. Let's see, I got my first fish when I was 7. My mom had a beautiful black ghost that she trained to come up to the top and some mollies, and she bought me a platy and put it in. And within a week, the mollies had killed it. So she got me a little 10-gallon tank and 2 platies, which became more platies. And I think I had them into junior high or high school, but I was doing 4-H with horses and stuff, so the fish kind of just sort of sat there and didn't do anything. Um, I had fish a couple more times. My first husband didn't like animals, and let's see, we took TVs and turned them into snake cages. Um, the end of the reptiles came when he opened a drawer, one of my kids' drawers, to put clothes away, and was bitten by a gray rat snake. Yeah, we ran out of tanks, so I put it in the drawer. And then my late husband and I had a 125-gallon with a clown knife and cichlids, which were always his favorite. And then he died, and eventually I kind of had to move to Colorado, and it was the worst 2 years of my life, or 3 years, or 2 years. And then when I came back and snuck my way into this house, which is it's my house, but it's my dad's house too. He kind of bought it for me, and he tried to sell it, and then he had 3 disastrous tenants who steals 180 feet of fence. I mean, I got really mad when he came over once, and there were chickens in the bathtub. So he consented to let me move back, even though he knows I'm a very cluttered person because I have too much. But I decided to get some more cichlids, and I made the mistake of listening to somebody, and I got mambunas and peacocks, and they started fighting. So, of course, I got another tank. And then there were like fairy cichlids, which I really liked, some Burchardies, and they were like only $1 a piece. So, of course, I had to get another tank. And, I have a wonderful deal going on with a friend who she has Rusties, OBs, and sort of generic hybrid cichlids, but she doesn't like raising them. So if I drive an hour and a half, she gives me the fry. You raise them and sell them. I don't want anything to do with them. So, I just picked up 30 fry, and she has 3 more females holding, and I don't mind growing them up to, next thing, 30 tanks later. No, I'm only up to about 20. And that does include, I have isopods, vampire crabs, hissing roaches, and pythons. And I have another python coming home. Spider. Yeah, it's really cool. I like virtually anything that's alive except for people. I like bugs. I'll bring bugs in the house. And I found this really beautiful centipede, and I brought it in, and I took pictures so I could do a video, and then I let it go, and I started reading up on it, and it's like they eat crickets, and they're really easy and make good pets. And it's like, let it go. My boyfriend's going, oh, thank heavens. Oh, just don't keep bugs, okay? Just don't keep bugs. I have 4 dogs. I did dog rescue for a long time. And I have a red tick who they were going to euthanize because he has a bad nose, which is why they think he got dumped, but he'd been attacked, and he's missing half of his ear, and he was skinny and scared. And when I heard that, I was down there at 8:00 the next morning when he went up for adoption. I was like, you can have him for $20. It's like, I don't care how much he is, you can't put this dog to sleep. And he hit 5 and got fat. So I always tease him that he's the fat dog. And I have my service dog, who's a pit mix. And I have a pity healer cattle dog mix who has the coolest curved teeth. And I mean, she is one mean dog. She's just the littlest. And then I have, well, Karma's a year old now, and her dad was an Australian pit bull, the god ugliest dog I've ever seen. And her mom was a Great Pyrenees St. Bernard. So she's the biggest dog I have. And she has this really cool smiley butt. Oh, she's tan, and she has a smiley butt on her on her butt. It's like, oh, my smiley dog. I am disabled, and right now I'm having a problem. All I need, the doctor says, oh, your blood sugar is really high. We don't want to discuss my A1C because I just about flipped when I found out how high it was. And he goes, just walk 45 minutes a day. It's like, I'd be happy if I could walk 5 minutes a day. I'd be happy if I could stand 5 minutes a day. I haven't quite figured out how to respond to that. So, I don't have any super high tanks. Yeah, I got a lot of critters. I just like them. I do sell them to our local pet shop, and for a while, like last year and the year before, he wasn't doing very much, but he just moved his store to a much better area, beautiful building, and it's sort of very angular and has like rooms that go off at angles, but he's done it really cool where like you go off into the marine world or you go off into the reptile world, and he set up a bunch of tanks. And it's like, whenever you can get those fish to me. And when I went to pick up mice, he says, you got to see these fish. I never knew it could happen. They're parrots and convicts. I said, yeah, polar blues. Only his are polar grays. And it's like, Rick, I'm going to hook you up with the guy who bred my polar blues, who are actually blue. And I mean, I've dealt with this guy for 35 years. And except for some of the technical stuff, I think I now know more than he does. Oh, check out these little fish I got with spots on them. Oh, yeah, CPDs. I was like, how do you know all these fish? I said, because I have friends who have all different kinds of fish. And I'm the type of person who'd be in college forever if I could. Because I really like doing research. And I really enjoy doing research about fish. I mean, I wish I could like go back 45 years or so, and like start not necessarily with what I know, but what I could foresee my life being. I mean, I wouldn't be a good marine biologist, but I would be good raising fish if I could get more than males. And, but just studying and doing research and writing books. I'm just about the only one in my family who's not published. And I have figured out a way maybe to help feed my fish. I live in the mountains of New Mexico, and I found a cholla graveyard. And I'm very willing to sell cholla for less, but you guys get to clean them out. It's actually pretty cool. I've gotten a lot of hints on how to clean them out from my friend who has the cichlid fry. They just use a pressure washer and it gets the dirt right out of them and all the stickers and stuff. But I just have, I mean, there is so much cholla around here. It's like, you guys are lucky you have oak leaves and mulberry leaves and all these cool kinds of leaves to put in your tanks. I have to buy the leaves. So it was kind of sad. But I did go to college. I have a degree in healthcare administration. Um, I'm weird. My kids say I'm never going to grow up. And that's me. I did add to my name Cichlidicious Fishes because I've decided I'm just a cichlid person. And I'm finally willing to admit it.
Is it like an addiction?
Yeah. And Cichlidicious fishes in Africa, they're considered delicious. I wouldn't eat one of my fish, but well, I can't say that. Because if push came to shove and I was starving, yeah. It's like we have a tradition in my family for Hanukkah hams, because during the Depression, when my dad's family got their food box, there was a pork roast. Now, being Jewish, my grandmother had never even seen a pork roast. They shopped at the kosher butcher store. So she went next door and she asked how to cook it. And they decided it was so good that every year for Hanukkah, they would cook a pork roast. So when people say, oh, but it's not kosher, I said, but God would want us to eat and live rather than starve and die. And when the Jewish food laws were made, there were reasons we didn't eat pork. And being poor, you have, protein, either meat or milk at a meal. You don't have both proteins. There's a lot of good reasons, but now they kind of don't. Most pork doesn't have trichinosis anymore. You have to go hunt bears for that. And I'm more of a cultural Jew than religious, because my rabbi when I was younger wouldn't teach me Hebrew because I'm a girl. Turned me off for a while. And the natives never said anything like that. I mean, my parents are one of the only, quote, non-native families to live in San Ildefonso proper. My mom just like weasels her way in everywhere. She's wonderful. I do give my parents a lot of credit for how I turned out, because they taught me a lot. They didn't censor me. And I used to have terrible fights with my ex. Oh, I don't want the kids watching violence. It's like, hey, we sit there and we discuss, how do you make like muscles, for a horror movie? And we'd go to the grocery store and look at different cuts of meat. You just have to figure out interesting ways to introduce children to things. So they're not scared. My daughter was more afraid after the divorce, excuse me, of Snow White than of slasher movies. Really bizarre, yeah. And, my ex once said, well, I don't want the children ever, seeing adult movies. And my son, who is 12, said, oh, Dad, those are so boring. Who'd want to watch them anyway? And it was like, see? And you think they don't go into our bedroom? Never know what children do. They grow up a lot faster. And I consider myself lucky. I have, let's see, 6 grandchildren, and I'll probably get at least one more out of 3 kids. And they're all in Texas. So I like going to Texas so I can see them. One day, not that I ever could, but I'd love to go to Florida during a storm or a flood so I could catch fish on the streets. I mean, I've watched those videos. It fascinates me. I mean, I live in the desert, guys. It's like, and now the water is so low that Well, there's a place about 2.5, 3 hours away that I may be able to, it's wheelchair accessible for fishing. But anywhere else, you can't get to the water anymore. And I can't climb up and down things to go fishing. Um, the Great Rona hasn't affected me because I live in the middle of nowhere and I kind of like it that way. And I only go shopping when I have to. And it's like, oh man, I got to go out again. I mean, I live in an area where I do have a direct neighbor who's a few hundred feet away, but the next one's probably, at least a third of a mile away, and we never hear them. It's dark. We have a million stars, and we have killer New Mexico views. I'm really close to where Georgia O'Keeffe painted. And just in case any of you like Georgia O'Keeffe, she was a very mean, old, bitter woman. I know a lot of people whose parents worked for her. And it's kind of sad when you have somebody that you think is really cool. I mean, there's a lot of people move out here because Georgia O'Keeffe lived here, and maybe someday they can, paint or do pastels as well as she did. And then, you start meeting the locals, and it's like, wow, was she really that mean? And it's like, yeah. I mean, it's like, Abiquiu is composed of two different types of people. There's the locals, and it starts with a G, and I always forget the name, but they're half Spanish from Spain and half Native American, because the Spaniards took slaves. And that's the locals. And then we have all the imports of, I want to be Georgia O'Keeffe, I'm an artist. If some of them could paint, it would be really nice. But sadly, it's really bad. My mom's an artist. She was taught by Jackson Pollock, and she knows she knew Andy Warhol. I mean, my mom's newer paintings are just really incredible. And I don't need to trust her judgment because we kind of have like the same tastes. Like, you can do abstracts, but please know your colors, know your composition. It's that 3 thing. I always forget the name of it, the golden, not the golden triangle, but where you divide things into 9. Best way for escaping a tank. And fish have taught me about growing plants. I used to have like the brownest thumb in the world. Now I can grow dwarf sage like crazy. Oh, hair algae, duckweed. And as much as people don't like duckweed, my cichlids get so excited when they see me coming with like a handful of duckweed, and my friend's goldfish that I'm babysitting get really excited now. He's going to have to start growing duckweed for them because like they expect it. Even my Oscars like duckweed. The golden ratio. Thank you, Mexicali. And it's just, I mean, the Plecostomus love it. It's a very nutritious plant. And it's even good for people, although I haven't tried it yet. But I may, you never know. But I'm growing, they're called night blooming Cirrus. They bloom, well, usually it's once or twice a year. They put out a dinner plate size flower. They're about this big and they're white, and they have long tendrils, and they actually squirt perfume to attract the only kind of moth that fertilizes or pollinates them. And Charles Goliath has a great video on him personally going out one night and blowing the pollen from one plant to another. But because of feeding these plants with fish water, I'm growing plants, which is sort of exciting for someone who, for 60 some odd years, couldn't grow plants. It's like, look, it's got a new leaf. My mom says, no, just chop that off. You don't want it. It's not a leaf, it's a sucker. I was like, it's growing. I'm not going to chop it off. Um, I really enjoy you guys in the fish family because I never, ever, ever used to socialize. I don't like people. But there's really a lot of cool people in the fish fam. I absolutely loved going to Aquashella. I met really cool people. There were only a couple who weren't cool. Um, but I mean, that you find in any group. But I actually, my mom says, wow, it sounds like you actually have friends. And I said, yeah, I do have people that I consider friends. And when I first got on YouTube, I was cop watching, and I listened to Agenda Free TV because he really is agenda free. And there was this woman who was, we called her the lovely Lady Edith. And I used to talk to her all the time. And then last February, she disappeared. And I know she was older and she had COPD and emphysema. And it's like, I know she probably died. And it's like, if I ask you for your phone number or your email, it's because I just don't want you to die. I mean, I like you guys and I'd like to stay in touch with you. And the reason I started my live stream is because we all have other likes besides fish. And I'd like to get to know you guys, in other ways. I mean, it's great we talk about fish because I've learned a whole bunch, especially about plants. But sometimes you need a break, which is why I don't post just fish. I mean, I post music, my cool trip. Okay, my cool trip through Madrid on the Turquoise Trail was to get fish and get choya. So it was fish related, but I didn't put that in there. I am more social than I ever have been. And you guys are great. I mean, and when Big Tank Hank asked me to be on his stream, it was like, I was just like so honored. It's like, whoa, maybe I'm not a little itty bitty inconsequential person anymore. Well, I don't chase numbers, but I've been on YouTube. This is my second YouTube channel because I lost my first one for like mega years and finally hit 300. No, I don't want anybody to die, and you won't die. Because if I can get there, I will. I do drive still. I actually love driving. But anyway, I guess that's it. I'm weird. I'll never grow up. Above my head, I have a Native American ladder filled with stuffed animals. As soon as I pull them out of storage, I will have stuffed fish hanging from my ceiling. And I just, it's like you don't have to lose all the fun. My son who died was a follower of the Juggalos. And the thing that he taught me was the Insane Clown Posse had the chaos theory. And I actually saw it, and then it kind of went away off the internet, where most people, regular people, none of us are regular, wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, go home, eat dinner, go to sleep, wake up. No, not taxidermy. I only have taxidermy rattlesnakes. But when you get older and you look back to see what you've done, you've never done anything. And every once in a while, you need to break away, like even if it's only for a day, and do something totally crazy. My late husband taught me that. I woke up one morning and it's like, oh God, I'm a night owl. Oh, it's too early. He says, get up. I got the picnic basket packed and I got a trip planned. And we went to the gator farm. It's like 3 hours away or something. I was like, this is really cool. There's a gator farm in Colorado. They have albino alligators. It's really cool. And they raise tilapia. They raise the gators in a hot springs. But it's just really cool, you know? And it's like, so every once in a while, you just have to like break away and do stupid things. Because that way, when you get older like me and you can't move around a lot, you got lots of great memories. I homeschooled my kids, and we actually once got stuck in the Mojave Desert. Like, I buried a 15-passenger van in the sand about 10 miles in. And, okay, guys, see those two mountains? We're going to head out. Right in between the mountains, we're just going to keep walking. And my son says, don't you think you should wear shoes, Mom? And it's like, nah. Turned out, well, from where we were, it was 6 miles across the desert. We got to the highway, and we were only 50 feet from a call box. A really nice gay lesbian couple from Washington State stopped and gave the kids apples and carrots, and they had dip and stuff while we waited for the policeman. And my poor kids were so tired. If they would have known we were going 120 miles an hour in the police car, they just would have been so happy. But because of where we were, the California Highway Patrol said, there's only one guy who can pull you out, and he's actually an illegal tow truck driver, but he's the only one who can handle the sand. And by the time we had walked out and he got there, it was 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. The restaurant was closing. So we all crammed into this really old, rickety truck. And he said, oh, yeah, I got it. You know, college kids stuck out in the desert following the California Guide to Rock County. I said, no, actually, Mom and 4 kids 10 and under following the California Guide to Rock County. Oh, what? 10 and under? I was like, yeah, I'm not joking. So that night, as we were digging out the van and rescuing it, he told us all about aliens and some of the petroglyphs. And it was one of the most incredible nights. And then he said, I bet you guys want to go camping. And it's like, yeah, I think I've had enough desert. He said, well, you'll see a little road. Take it and you'll go into a canyon that has running spring water. There's beautiful fish and there's trees. And like, you're in the middle of the desert. You just turn down this road and you go down. And it's sort of like Red Rock Canyon in Oklahoma. And there's this whole other world with trees and water. And I mean, I'll never forget that guy. He was like totally awesome. But this trip, not only did we get stuck in the desert, we got rained out of Death Valley. We went up the east side of the on 395 on the east side of the Sierras. And it was snowing and snowing, and we didn't see any other cars. And we got to Tahoe, and we were on the wrong side of a roadblock. And the highway patrol was like, where are you coming from? Well, Southern California. The road's been closed for 4 hours. Oh, really? No one told us. And I always thought my kids hated those vacations, but they really loved them. Just warning, because we used to listen to audiobooks. Don't let little kids listen to Raptor Red, because my kids and I all listened to it. And when I got older and my kids grew up, I listened to it and I thought, oh my goodness, I let my kids. It's sort of like Jurassic Park from the dinosaurs' point of view, only they eat each other and they die and they rip each other's arms off. And I thought, my God, I let my kids listen to this. But they all have fond memories of it. And my grandkids have to grow up a little bit before their mom will let her children listen to it, because she heard part of it. So if you guys have any questions, and I don't care what it is about, I'll answer almost anything.
So was Raptor Red like on the cassettes with the booklet? You know what? Okay.
Well, we listened to it when we went to Goblin State Park in Utah. And it was like, we're driving around an empty campground trying to figure out which camping spot we want. And it's like, wait a minute, we're the only people here. We're 60 miles in the middle of nowhere. So we just parked. And in the morning, we got out and everybody played Raptor Red because Raptor Red was from Utah. And they went running around Goblin State Park growling. And when the tourists started coming, they must have thought we were really weird. But it was fun.
No, those would definitely be some beautiful memories for your kids, right? I mean, just me listening to it and imagining myself as a kid, you know, now, fast forward into being an adult, yes. At the time, yeah, maybe they didn't think all
No,
of the situations were. But yeah, looking back now, what we have to deal with, as an adult, yes, most definitely. Beautiful memories. Roderick Moore is my cousin right there, y'all. Everybody tell him hello. What's
hello,
going on,
Roderick.
man? Thank you for coming through.
So
And
where are
Renee.
Warrior Planted Tanks? You in Texas?
Yeah, that's my buddy right there, Steven.
Ah, okay. I'm up for barbecue. I
He's
just,
he's OG YouTube also.
I okay. Jeffrey, just like I said, I'll clean the stickers off, but I'm not cleaning, and I'm not gonna saw the edges for you, etc. I would like people to pay for shipping because I am on disability. But if you give me some idea what size you want, I will do my best to accommodate you. And my email is on my about page because I think we should spread the love.
Amen. Amen.
And I don't know, I guess it's sort of like a Jewish thing. I was just told, I was taught to, it's better to give than to receive. But my parents always, so I take in strays, I guess, stray people, because my parents would. Um, when I was 3, this was the first person who ever stayed at our house. His name was, I can never remember. He was a Nigerian prince, and he had the most beautiful green with gold thread native costume. And he came to the door and he said, I'm from the Reader's Digest tour, and I'm a communist. And if you don't like it, I'll leave now. My mom said, I don't care. Come on in. And I still remember him. And we had people from Thailand and from Scotland, and I didn't like the French guys. All over the world. My parents have been to Russia and China. And I actually, my best friend was from Kenya, and her mom was from India. And growing up out in the
Poeseewi,
States, yeah, shut up.
keep talking. Keep talking. No.
I can talk for days. Um, so my teacher's family, they were Czechoslovakian and they lived in Cicero. Okay, so like Cicero, some little town in Chicago or something. I grew up in a small town. I don't know about different areas. So my friends' relatives had come out from Kenya, and it was summer holiday, and they were cooking flatbread on rocks, and they were barbecuing this whole pig. So I told my friend Jana, hey, let's go. She goes, oh, it sounds like fun. And we drove up, and she just like froze. And I looked at her and she said, they're black. I said, they're what? And I remember still to this day looking out the window and looking at them. And I was like, oh, yeah. So she says, you don't understand. I'm from Cicero. Take me home. And it was like, hey, Warrior Planet Tanks, I will show you where to get. Really cool. Flagstone, I could show you where to get. Really cool. Choya, I just can't walk very far. All I ask is barbecue. That was, I think, my first realization that people actually cared about different colors. And, I went home and told my mom, and I was like 15 or 16 when I discovered there was a whole other world out there that, I mean, we traveled and stuff, but it's not the same as when you live somewhere. Um, I just watched a hilarious thing with Gabriel Iglesias, who said, I'm going to tell you how to tell the difference between Hispanics. Okay, like I'm Mexican when we talk, hey, ¿qué pasa? ¿Dónde está mi hijo? It says we drag everything out and we talk, we drink tequila. He says, now the Puerto Ricans, oh, ¿qué pasa? He says, they just talk so fast, even I don't understand them. And they drink rum. He says, now the Cubans, yeah, isn't that great, Renee? The Cubans, they're always mad and they're always serious. Hey, ¿qué pasa? He says, so when we were in Florida, we got this taxi driver. I love this story. We had this taxi driver who was Cuban, and we said, we want to go to an authentic Cuban restaurant. And he says, I got one. So they go to this restaurant, and I forgot the name of it. And he says, the waiter comes up and says, what do you want? Or, excuse me, what do you want? And he said, coffee? Okay. He comes back with this little itty bitty shot glass of coffee. And it's like, hey, dude, no es ito, es grande. Necesito coffee grande. And the guy was like, no, 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 no. He says, no, sí, coffee grande. So the guy comes back with a bowl full of coffee. I took a drink. He says, my hair was already starting to raise. That coffee was so strong. And of course, I'm not going to tell this guy, oh, now I know why you serve it in little itty bitty shot glasses. I'm going to be a man. And I drank the whole bowl. By the time I was finished, I was fired to the teeth. And I'll never do it again. It was just like, I mean, I really like him. He's a great, truthful comedian. And let's see, what else? I got stories at the yin yang. Oh, and somebody's cooking at the house. I smell food. Oh, yeah, did you ask it? Well, yeah, because I don't know. That's why I always occasionally I'll say, okay, shut up, Laurie, because like I can talk forever. Give me a subject and I probably know something about it.
Amen.
I knew more about astronomy than my college astronomy teacher. I wanted to talk to him about the string theory, and he goes, well, that's just too complicated for me. And it's like, okay. Of course, it was a college where we had a big argument with one of the girls who insisted that Venus is a star because it's called the morning star. And it's like, you're in college, sweetheart. You need to learn Venus is a planet. No, no, no. If it were a planet, they would call it a planet. Yeah. But I was raised by educators. So, you learn to, yeah, that's what my mom said. You need just a little, like a little itty bitty shot glass, half full, or you're going to be wired for days. On the other hand, my drink of choice, reflection. Because of being ADHD, I have opposite reactions. It's nothing like, I really would like to take some sort of pain medication, but Vicodin wires me. And it's like, then I just want to do stuff and I'm in so much pain I can't.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for saying that about being ADHD and then you drinking the energy drink and having the opposite effect.
Oh, yeah.
People thought I was crazy forever because I'm extreme ADHD, but I know how to balance 9 o'clock at night, get off work, buy 3 energy drinks on my way home, and the guy's like, "Oh man, you gonna be up all night?" I'm like, "No, I'm
Nope, I'm
actually
gonna
gonna
go
go to
to
sleep."
sleep. Hey, Kenny. Well, I actually did meth for 25 years, and I did a quarter gram a month. I just needed a little line in the morning, and not that it's an excuse, but I moved from California to New Mexico and decided I was going to get healthy and I was going to quit doing drugs and I was just going to be ultra cool. And I got thrown into rehab. My mom, my dad, and my brother and my sister-in-law did a whatever it's called. They trapped me in the doctor's office and said,
Intervention.
yeah, we know you're doing drugs. I said, no, you don't understand. I said, hey, take a hair sample. I have been clean for over 6 months. Why do you think I'm going to the doctor? I'm bouncing off the walls. And it's like, so when I got a psychiatrist and got diagnosed, it's like, people actually pay to bounce off the walls like that and like not have concentration. When I moved to Colorado, the psychiatrist said, well, our town has a terrible meth problem, so I'm not giving you your 5 milligrams a day of Adderall. 5 milligrams takes the edge off. I mean, obviously, I'm hyped, but it takes the edge off and it allows me to concentrate. So I said, you're taking away my legal psych medication that I had to be clean for 13 years before I got, and you're going to make me go next door and buy speed? I lasted 6 months and then I had to. And as soon as I came back to New Mexico, I went to my doctor and I said, please just give me my Adderall and I'll quit doing speed. And it was for me that easy. I mean, I know for other people, I've, and when I wasn't doing drugs, I actually lived on the streets of San Francisco. I lived on the streets of LA. I've done a lot of stuff. I've been alive for a long time, but um, there's always a chance, even like now, for an adventure. And even if it's just learning more about your fish or learning about, um, I watched some of Redfish, Bluefish about scaping. And then, through other people, I met other, or learned about other scapers. I only wish I was that good. But it's something to attain and achieve. And at Aquashella, I got my first vampire crabs, and I only have 2 left. But I did my first terrarium, and my plants are actually growing. And I met Aqua Garden Zen, who said, well, how come you don't have a Luca layer in there? And it's like, what's that? So, yeah, it's like before you used to be able to let your kids go run around and play outside, and now they'll probably get shot. I just don't understand the world these days. I don't understand why everybody's so mad at everybody. I can understand not liking the lockdowns and that kind of stuff, but the world is always changing in different ways. And part of growing is learning to adapt. I used I used to go to science fiction conventions, and my big thing was post-apocalyptic things, like you guys will all get the computers and the generators and all that crap running, but when you want to eat, I know how to butcher animals. I know how to breed animals. I know how to trap animals. Um, so you're gonna, I can and do preserves. I just can't grow them, And it's like, you guys are gonna come to me when you're hungry or when you need new clothes, because I know how to tan a hide. We were talking about, someone said they'd kill a buffalo, and I said, yeah, but what are you gonna do with all of that meat? I mean, are you really willing to hang it out to dry and actually eat it once it has a fly on it? I mean, a lot of people just think they're too good for it, but it's better than starving. But yeah, I used to talk about post-apocalyptic things. Um, yeah, let's go fly into space and live off grid. I've lived off grid. I still have a friend who's, she's about 5 years older than I am and living off grid, but I like my hot water. I remember after about 3 years of living off grid, we'd go into town and I'd turn on the hot water and like put my hands under it, and it was just like, wow, hot water coming out of a pipe. Ooh. TVs. I still don't have a TV. Unless it's like National Geographic or documentaries. Nah. I like learning about weather events, tornadoes and hurricanes, bomb cyclones, volcanoes. I like collecting rocks. I know a great place in Texas to get fossils for your fish tanks. I try and go there every time I visit my kids and bring home another 5-gallon bucket of fossils because you can. And I used to do a lot more than I can now, but it won't slow me down because I'm not ready to slow down. I have too much left to do.
What caused you to become handicapped?
I have degenerative disc disease like my mom. Our bones disintegrate. Actually, well, I have tendons instead of like finger bones. Got this right, left. Okay, instead of having these bones, I have tendons. I actually have a ball joint in this wrist, and it was the best surgery I ever had. After 2 weeks after surgery, I could lift a 5-gallon bucket of water. Totally awesome. My mom's entire back is fused. The problem that I was having a lot of problems with my thoracic area. And unless you're really falling apart, they don't do surgery there. But my spine was kind enough to fuse itself. But right now I'm dealing with, I really could use an epidural to calm down the inflammation so I could start walking and get my blood sugar down, but they can't give you a steroid shot when your blood sugar is high. All I need to do is walk to get my blood sugar down. And then I can have my steroid shot, and it's like I'm kind of stuck in a vicious circle. And when I finally did get an appointment last year to get a shot, my blood sugar was too high, and the doctor said, "Oh, it won't take very long." And I said, "It won't be until later next year." And I changed to a closer doctor who decided for 2 months not to refill any of my diabetes medications. So my A1C was 11. It's never been that high, and I totally freaked. Went out and bought chocolate cake. Okay, I know that's really bad, but it was like, I'm trying to stay alive, and my blood sugar's never been that high. And I was like, I eat one small meal a day, and I know I should eat 5 small meals, but what am I supposed to do? Like, eat 5 pecans a meal? I just don't eat that much. And right now I'm at the, oh boy, I'm losing weight because my blood sugar's high. Okay, that's really bad. But I have faith that I'll make it through because my dad's diabetic. My aunt was diabetic. I know what to eat. I just have to talk to the doctor and okay, now what? I mean, I can't eat much less. I'm to the point of cutting out fruit because it's sweet, cut out peas and carrots because they have sugar and corn. It's like, I just want a pizza, a nice deep dish pizza. Luckily, barbecue chicken is still on the menu as long as you don't use a lot of sugar. And being a good New Mexican, I kind of like spicy barbecue. And let me tell you, I brought green. We use a Socorro green chili, which is thicker than Hatch. I brought it down, and my son-in-law put it on top of the ribs, and then he put the onions and the bell peppers, and then he covered it with his barbecue sauce, and it dripped down and into the meat and all over the vegetables, and oh, it was awesome. The green chili juice, got into the ribs. It was really, really nice. I mean, I can't eat as spicy of food as I used to, but I can still eat green chili. I'm New Mexico's state question is red or green. Oh, I'm definitely green. I'm not real fond of red chili. Um, I'm definitely green chili. It's like now I have to have a bowl of green without Poeseewi because it's a starch. And for those of you who don't know, Poeseewi is kind of like hominy, but not. I had hominy once. It's kind of strange. But I do like grits. Oh, and my mom taught me how to make a really, really good etouffee. And it's like someone says, you actually stand there and stir that stuff. Do you know how long it takes? I said, yes, I have a chair. So when I decide to make a roux, I'm prepared to sit there forever and stir and stir and stir. Because the longer it cooks, the better it is. And I know how to make, Jews use a lot of chicken fat, and I know how to render chicken fat. And one of my mom's helpers said, what are you doing? It looks like you're making chicharrones, but you're using skin and fat from a chicken. So now, like, a bunch of her friends say, oh, Sunny's making chicken chicharrones. Got to go over and have some. A new thing in New Mexico. Chicken chicharrones. But they are really good.
They've been a little healthier than pork chicharrones.
No, it's all fat. It's all fat. It's like only on Passover. Hey, you can't. My dad and I used to sneak off and go to IHOP once in a while and have pancakes, or go to McDonald's and have French fries, which my mom wouldn't let us do. And my dad said, every once in a while, you have to sneak out and eat something that you really like that's bad for you. Because your mental health is as important as your physical health. And if you sit there and go, oh, I can't have this and I can't have this, you're just going to make yourself miserable. So my cousin who lives in London, she retook her family's British citizenship because she owed student loans. God, what a dummy. But she moved back to London and she's a vegetarian, or a vegan. And it's like, oh, have I got recipes for you? And part of my problem with that is I'm deathly allergic to peanuts, but not tree nuts, just peanuts. Almond butter and sunflower seed butter taste like peanut butter to me. So I can't quite get past the smell and the texture. I could live on pecans, though. I actually in Texas lived on a pecan farm. It was pretty cool. So I guess I should probably shut up. I'm a motor mouth. I'll go on forever.
It's okay.
Give me a subject.
Oh, I'm gonna go way back so I can let Renee know. Renee, the stuffed fish were actually the synthetic stuffed animal fish that she owns, but they were misplaced. She's trying to find us.
I have, when I moved out of this house, which is your standard double wide, I moved to a giant house. And even back when I lived in this house, I have a 10 by 20 foot storage, full, well, half full. I have a 23-foot motorhome that's full. And luckily, my therapist is helping me sort through things like, why do you buy stuffed animals? because it makes me feel good. Who used to buy you stuffed animals? Well, my dad. So you sort of get the feeling that maybe secretly your dad got you the stuffed animal. So when you're feeling sad to make you happy, you buy a stuffed animal because that's what your dad would do to make you happy. Smart lady. When I got thrown into rehab, she walked in, flipped the chair around. I was sitting on the bed, put her arms on the back of the chair, and she said, "You know what? I'm one hell of a smart Jewish dyke. And I hate to tell you this, sweetheart, I'm smarter than you are. So don't pull any crap on me. Because I've been there, done that." And it was like, somebody smarter than me? That just couldn't happen. Then I realized she really was smarter than me in a bunch of ways. And I started listening to her, which really did me a lot of good. I mean, it took me a while because I had the typical, when I was in high school, I got in trouble. And, well, we're going to go see a therapist. And the therapist says, "And we won't tell your parents anything." And I pick up the phone and listen to the entire hour being told to my parents. And it was like, okay, now we're going to find some really cool lies. Because you just shouldn't lie to kids, because that's how they learn to do bad things.
Yep, I agree.
I didn't lie to my kids. And not that my ex was particularly fond of how I raised him, because I showed them, well, my son was a firebug. Now, he did it the right way. He got an aluminum pan and he filled it with cat litter, and he had 2 little glasses of water, and he was playing with candles. The only thing he did wrong was he did it under the bunk bed. I showed them what happens. I was going to burn one of his toys, plastic toys, but he collects rocks, and burning a piece of coal just doesn't cut it. So I showed him what happens with stainless steel cleaner and a lighter. Our computers were really good, and my son got suspended in 1st grade because, well, they said it was my fault. I just taught my kids about civil disobedience. So he didn't want to go play on the computers because they weren't as good as ours. And he sat down outside of the classroom and he wouldn't move. So I was told to come pick him up, and he was suspended for a week in 1st grade because I had coached him. And when the kids came home with a letter saying that, well, check your kids for lice every day, it was like, forget school. We're homeschooling. This is crazy. And then we had fun. My ex inherited $7 million, and my kids and I spent about 6 months planning a trip to like national parks, national historic sites. We were going to go learn about the Civil War by going to all the battlefields and museums and stuff. I mean, that was like our dream. We mapped it all out, going up through Montana to learn about, Native history and stuff. We had it all planned out. He inherited $7 million, took my parents and the nanny to Hawaii and not me. He actually married the nanny. She helped him spend most of his money, and in 7 years, it was all gone. And I didn't get anything in the divorce because it was an inheritance and not community property. And you know what? I do it in the heartbeat. Again, you become so much more inventive and creative when you can't just go out and buy stuff. I'm trying to think of an example now. Almost all my escaping, I got out in the woods. I have like really expensive fossils in my aquariums. I don't care. To me, they're beautiful rocks, and that way I could show them off. Whereas if I have them on a shelf, they're just not as exciting. Like I said, I can go get choya. I have juniper in my fish tanks. which, you know, must be 14 or 15 years ago. I never thought about it back then. Um, and someone told me when I first got on YouTube, oh, that's a beautiful piece of wood. I said, yeah, it's juniper. What? You have juniper in your tank? You can't put juniper in your tank. And I was like, I've been dragging around this piece of wood for 11 years. You know, it was in a fish tank for 5 years. It didn't kill those fish. So I don't think it'll, you know. And I do have pieces of wood that I've dragged around for years thinking someday I'd be able to use them again. And by George, I'm using them. I just found another 2 pieces. So it's like, time to set up another tank. Or maybe I'll do what my local fish store, he has these beautiful pieces of some sort of fish tank wood. I want to say Mopani, but I'm not sure. That he hangs from the ceiling and he puts snakes in them. So you walk into the pet store, and if you're tall, like my brother's almost 7 feet tall, kind of walk into him, says, "Whoa, this place is dangerous." um, I don't know. I've just done so much, and I think my secret for long life, not that I'm that old, just have fun, be creative, be inventive. Don't think you can't do it because there's always a way to do it. Sometimes it takes research, which means you have to read. But reading is good for you. Reading is fundamental. I swear I heard that once. Oh, yeah, and then there's the whole acting business. I was in a bunch of like really cheap, guess they're black exploitation westerns. Boss, and I can't say the last word of the movie, and Adios Amigos, and they all had Fred Williamson, who was a football player, and Richard Pryor and stuff. And it was funny because Fred Williamson was actually in a science fiction movie, I think a vampire movie. And I went to the convention just to see him. I didn't care about anybody else. But I knew Fred for like 20 years. And he's just a really cool guy. Okay, he's a womanizer. But, you know, that's his generation. And they were going to throw him out of the convention because he got really mad when one of the people at the convention called him boy. And I said, okay, first of all, you have to realize that's inexcusable. And you have to realize the generation that he was brought up in. And you just gave the worst slam, you know, besides. I said,
Yep.
you know, the only reason I came here was to see Fred, you know, because he is one hell of an intelligent, awesome guy. And Fred and I had a lot of fun. He says, you look kind of familiar. He says, Sonny. And I said, no, but that's my mom. And I look just like my mom. And he was like, wow, I remember your mother. So, you know, it was like everybody can learn. Everybody can learn. But I've been in movies. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Unless you're a total star, you don't get very much money, and usually you get terrible food. I don't know. I've just done a lot of things. My friends said that I should write a book called The Mouse House because ever since I was little, my first time at camp, my nickname was Mouse. And it's not because mice are quiet. It's because all my life, even when I was a little kid, I was nocturnal. And I'm at camp and I'm like underneath the blankets, reading a book or drawing, making little scratching noises. So my friends, I guess I was 8 when I was dubbed a mouse because I'm the little creature that makes noise all night long. And I still do. Although the real mice I have make more noise than I do in the middle of the night. I like my fish because they don't know whether it's day or night. It just depends when I turn on the light. The crabs are nocturnal, so I just give them a red light. Um, the snakes have one of those blue night lights. And except that I'm on a stream right now, well, these guys, I turned off the lights on the other side. Otherwise, it's massive glare. Sort of being in a fishbowl. I like my nocturnal life. Except every once in a while, I have to like wake up super early, like tomorrow morning, because I'm getting a 41-foot trailer. My mom has a 10 by 20 storage, and I pay $75 for mine. She's an hour away, and she pays over $300 a month. So for $2,700, we bought a 41-foot trailer to put all her paintings and my junk in. So it comes bright and early, probably 8 o'clock. And it's funny because the guy who owns the storage, I went to high school with. So when I first saw, he goes, "Gee, I don't remember you at all." And I said, "It's okay. Nobody remembers me. I'm one of those people." So when I first saw him again, I said, "So," put up my hand to shake his hand and said, "So what have you been doing for the last 45 years? He didn't know what to say. He said, "Wow." I said, "Yeah, 45th reunion this year." And I was like, "Oh my God, has it been that long?" And it's like, "Yeah, what are you sitting here talking about retirement?" "Yeah, 45 years since high school." And the worst thing I ever did was graduate a year early because I should have taken that year of free education. But I was in a hurry to graduate and go off to California and go to college and become something. So I lasted 6 months. University of Santa Barbara really isn't a good university to go to if you want to study because you like kind of more party. And then I moved to Huntington Beach and became a surfer. Huntington Beach pier rat. Surfed a few years away. I've done all kinds of things. But I think doing stuff keeps you out of trouble, and it keeps, party school. Keeps your, oh, Thomas, you too? Yeah, I love Huntington Beach. Although I hear it's changed. I'm sure it's changed. I haven't lived there since the 80s, I guess.
I know the Huntington Beach Bad Boys from MMA.
But I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, see, Warrior Planted Tanks, I understand. My mother called, and I spend about an hour to 2 hours on the phone every night with my mother. And I was like, "Mom, I need to go because I have a stream coming up." And I started like an hour before the stream. Tried to get off the phone. And then finally it was like, "Look, I have to go to the bathroom." And with spraining my ankle or whatever I did, it takes me a few minutes to get to the bathroom. So can I please go? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But, yeah, I didn't have grandparents. Well, I met my dad's mom when I was 3 and my grandfather when I was 3. And I have like 2 memories of them. And it always used to irritate when people said, "Oh, God, I got to go visit my grandparents." And all I could see was people who had more knowledge than I had. And it sort of sounds stupid, but I like to pick their brains. I mean, I always like people who are older. I met a guy who lived across the street from us in Huntington Beach, and he was a grumpy old man named Andy. And he really was a grumpy old man. And I got out of my car one day. I'd rescued a white Persian with blue eyes because the lady was getting a Mediterranean furniture, and the white cat with blue eyes didn't match her new orange, yellow, and red decor. So she was getting rid of the cat and had an orange cat on order. And he came out and he said, my cat died 2 weeks ago and I don't have a cat. Is that your cat? And I said, well, no, I just rescued him. I'll keep him, but he's kind of looking for a home. And so Andy said, do you think I could have him? And I said, yeah, well, let me make sure his shots are all up to date and stuff, and I'll bring him over tomorrow. So I went over to his house, and I noticed that he had a tattoo in his arm. He'd been in Buchenwald. He made it out of the concentration camps. He was Dutch. He had a wealth of information, and after I knew him about 6 months, I had told him at one point that I played the violin and the viola, and he says, I have something to show you. And he went to his closet and he pulled out this violin case, which looked really old, but it was really clean and shiny. And he opened it up, and it was a real Stradivarius that his dad had hid underneath the floorboards in the house. And even though the house had been destroyed after the war, he went back and dug it up. And it was the only thing that he had left out of his whole family. And it was like just the knowledge that I got from him. I mean, he was just old and lonely, and he had a lot of stories and nobody to tell. And he was just a fascinating man. And it's like, even people who are your contemporaries, you can learn something from. I learn stuff from my kids all the time. Okay, I really didn't say that, but yeah, I learn stuff from my kids all the time. It's like, Molly, help. And my daughter just got a new job. I'm so proud of her. She's been working at Temple Scott and White in the call center for the last 7 years. And one of her friends that she used to work with works in the supply division of the hospital and wanted her to start working with them. So she had 2 interviews. And then the headhunter said, well, this is what we're going to offer you. What do you say? And she says, $200 a check less than I'm making. I got 2 kids. No. As much as I want the job, I just can't go down. What about some negotiation? Oh, they don't want to negotiate. So, it's like one of her best friends. So she told her best friend. And the next morning she gets a call. Well, it looks like they really are willing to negotiate. They've thought this over. And it's like, you lying sack of crap. So in June, they do their annual raise, which is like 50 cents an hour. So she said, I took 50 cents an hour less because I'm going to get a raise anyway in June. So she's going to be like the second in charge of supply at Temple Scott and White, or Baylor Scott and White, excuse me. So I'm pretty proud of her, and she still gets to work at home. Because it's not that she's an anti-vaxxer; she's allergic to the flu vaccine, and her doctor talked about it and said, you'll probably end up in the hospital if you get the vaccine, so you should just work at home. So she's been working at home, and she has this new job now, which is, I can't believe I'm leaving my job. I've been there so long. And I was like, Molly, some people work at the same job for 20 or 30 years. You've been there 7 years. And it's like, I never thought of it that way. And I was like, yeah, look at Grandpa. I mean, he worked he worked in physics and with lasers for a long time. I always thought, because growing up with the nuclear bomb where they made it, I always thought my dad had something to do with nuclear bombs or energy or something. Never really asked him, and I was pretty pro-nuclear. Nuclear. Then I found out actually what my dad did was design lasers for medical use. And it turns out that he has a lot of patents for medical lasers. It was like, wow, he wasn't blowing things up, he was fixing people. That's pretty cool. Um, but you know, Thomas, you could get too comfortable in your life. And hey, I'll see you later, Mexicali. Um, and I think that's why I kind of like being poor, because even though you have to struggle sometimes, you never get really comfortable, and you're always like learning and searching. And part of that includes having fun. And I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you have a day off, yeah, I know we got to do water changes and we have to feed our fish and we have to do this and we have to do that. But sometimes, I mean, even though I can't hike, I still go, drive out into nature and park as close as I can to a cholla so I can break branches off. Um, it's like you have to learn to value fun, learning, enjoyment. Um, yeah, you value stuff so much more. It's like I had a friend from Waco and he came out here and it's like, oh my God, it's dark and scary and creepy out here. And it's like, have you looked at the stars? And he looks up and he goes, what are all those white dots? And it's like, those are like stars. And it's like, oh, they look like pictures in a book. I said, no, they're really stars. You should see stars at like 14,000 feet. Wow. That's impressive. But every once in a while, you have to like break your mold and go do something, even if it's just go to Mono Lake, go to Big Hole in Texas, go see if you can catch some of those nasty, what was it they caught? 400 and something plecos out of San Marcos River. Educate a kid. Don't throw fish from the aquarium, the fish store into the water. It's not good for them. It's not good for the rest of the fish. I don't know. I may not like people, but people do have their place. They are good. You learn a lot from them. And it's just cool. And like I feel like a broken record.
I am being summoned by the better half.
Ooh, that happens. My Oscar, Captain Morgan, is my favorite aquatic pet because he was born without a fin and they wouldn't give me a discount on him, but I knew nobody else would buy him. And people told me that Oscars bite, and I just started training him not to bite me, with river shrimp. And I sleep next to him, and I actually sleep with my hand on the tank, and he sleeps right next to me. So Captain Morgan is my favorite aquatic pet because he's just so cool. I love all my fish, though. I mean, I talk to them. Even though sometimes they don't talk very nice to the 5-star general because he's such a butthead. He's mean. He should learn how to be nice, but it's not in his nature.
Right. Well, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, or your better half won't be your better half.
Yeah, we got to get out of here. 23 years, and I didn't get there by being too hard at it. And I want to thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I had a great time.
And you have provided so much more insight.
I always have a great time running my mouth.
Hey, and you provided so much more insight for, the people who thought they knew you, where they really know you. And that's a beautiful thing to get an understanding of how someone's mind works And what was the beginning? What was the building process for the person that you think you know, but now you do know, or at least you have a good idea.
Yeah, I
Because
always had
I'm
a weird
pretty sure you have a lot more.
Yeah. I always thought I grew up in Leave It to Beaverland. Boy, was it a twisted Leave It to Beaverland. But not as twisted as some others.
I hear you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me.
Most
And
definitely. Most definitely.
I
So we
hope to
thank
see
everybody for coming
you
through.
again. Thank you, Renee, Julie, Matt, Thomas, Mexicali,
Liquid Zoo,
Crystal, JJ Aquariums, Hippie John,
Warrior Planet Tanks,
Kenny,
False
House
Aquatics,
Aquatics,
J
New
Watts.
Lofton. And I hope to see all of you at Aquashella in Dallas, because that's the only one that I'll be able to make it to. So bye. No.
All right, y'all. Y'all be
Bye.
good. Have a good night. And you have a good night now. Love somebody. Tell them you love them. And take care of those fish.